So we're going to start with our scrap paper today. So we've just written our name on the back of our tile, today's date, or if you have a sketchbook or another piece of paper, you could put it off to the side. And we're going to start with, so get a piece of scrap paper or blank page to your sketchbook, whatever you use for this. And you can use your pen or your pencil. I'm going to grab a different pen because this is plain paper. And I like to save my Micron 01 for the tiles because the plain paper may absorb the ink a little bit more. But if that's all you have, don't worry about it. No, not a big deal. So I'm just going to use another pen, this uni pen. And we're going to practice the string that we're going to use today. So we're just going to practice that a little bit. Let's draw a big square, kind of like the size of our tile, but doesn't have to be. If you notice, it's a little bit smaller. Just get a square in there. Draw a square. You can do this with your pencil too, by the way. You don't have to use it with your pen. We will be using our pencil when we do it, so maybe we should. But so we're going to start from the bottom left corner. We're going to come up on an arc, and when we get to the top, you can hit the top and then come around and then back down. So I'm gonna stop there so you can do this part. So we've come up here and we're just going around. Remember, it doesn't have to look like mine. The whole idea is just putting the string down with some loops. And then when we get down here, we're gonna do the same thing, kind of come across and then come up. And then when we get to the edge or close to it, we're going to do that same thing, give it a loop, and then bring it to the edge. Now we're going to do this again. So we're going to practice this a couple times. It's easy, but it's just, there's a lot to it. So we're just going to keep practicing this. So it's almost as if you had a piece of string or yarn, and you threw it down and it might have made this type of a shape. So I'm going to do it again. I'm going to grab it. I'll just do it one more time. One more time. I'm going to draw a square or a rectangle, however it comes up. And we're going to start from that bottom left, come up kind of on a curved line, rounding out. Coming down. You can land wherever you want here. So again, not perfect. Don't have to do it exactly like me. We're all going to do this differently, but I'm looking for something like this. Okay, I think that's good. I think we're ready to move on. So now let's grab our tile, put down your pen, and pick up your pencil. And I think we'll do our 4 dots. So let's take, with each breath, with your pencil, put a dot in each corner. And I'm going to go really far because I want more space on my tile today. So get that dot with your pencil pretty far in that corner. But it really doesn't matter. Nothing matters. And now we'll draw our lines. And I'm using the side of the tip of the pencil just because I want to. And I'm turning my tile each time, so I'm just drawing from top to bottom, turning my tile nice and relaxed. We're going slow now. We're in our meditation, breathing in and out. And these don't have to be straight lines. I wouldn't even think about it. Just draw a line from dot to dot. However it comes out, it comes out. We've got our 4 dots in our border, which is a very typical Zentangle, especially starting out. This is how we usually teach classes. So now with the pencil, we're going to start that string bottom left corner. We're going to come up, slightly curved line, and then just kind of round it out. Doesn't matter how big or how small. Come back down and round it up. Get another one up there, and yeah. So every time I've done this, it's come out differently. And remember, everything I say today is all a suggestion. You're always welcome to do whatever feels right to you, listening to that inner artist. So now you can put down your pencil, put it next to your tortillon to keep your tortillon company for later. And we're going to start with our Micron 01 or whatever fine pen you have, keeping that thicker pen off to the side for now. So we're going to focus first on the loops. And I'm going to teach you or guide you through, because some of you may already know these patterns. It's called Diva Dance. And Diva Dance has 3 versions that I'm aware of. One is rock and roll, one is foxtrot, and one is just plain Diva Dance, I believe. So we're going to start with Diva Dance rock and roll. I'm going to start with this loop here. Let's see this move in. I'm going to start in the middle or wherever you like, and we're going to start to come around. It's almost like a spiral, but we're going to do a wavy spiral. So we're kind of just waving in and out. Think of a spiral like printemps, but it's just waving. And then we keep going around nice and slow. And now take a moment and let's do a bump out, right? So I'm right here and I'm gonna go backwards, giving this little arc and coloring that in. Now you don't need the thicker pen for this coloring in. This is very small areas. So we don't need that thicker pen yet, not for this pattern. Let's see if I can, oh, there we go, pattern. And now once you do that, you're gonna continue on, kind of ordering what you've just drawn, or you can add some more waves if you like. And then when you get to that bump, make sure you aura that bump out there. And then whenever you feel like it, do it again. We come back up. And you can change the shapes, the lengths every time you do this. And then continue on nice and slow, and you can add a bump out anywhere you'd like. And you're going to keep doing this until you fill up this whole loop. So get your music on, relax, there's no right or wrong. Or as I always say, everything's right, there's no wrong. And just keep oaring and bumping out whenever you want. Now you can have a few layers of these auras before you bump out if you want to. It's totally up to you. I like to have bump outs in all my layers, but it doesn't matter. Listen to your inner artist. Remember, you can turn your tile at any time. Always being in a comfortable position. So you might want to add a few deep breaths here. Take a few, maybe not deep, but how about medium breaths? Deep breathing is very good for our health. So we should start, we're feeling a little bit more relaxed now. Let's see if we can even slow it down a little bit more. Making sure everything's relaxed, your shoulders, your wrists, your grip on your pen. If you notice, I keep, even though I go to the edge, I'm just gonna keep going, adding layers until whatever's left here. Now, if you want, I'm gonna still finish this up, but if you want, you can always go back to see if you want to add any more. Like sometimes I'll find a little area like right here, and I'll just kind of close that in and just give it another little weight, call it weight or drama. So you can always go back in to see if there's any areas you'd like to add in with some of these bump outs. Maria calls them bump outs. Maria from Rick and Maria, founders of Zentangle. I like to remind people every now and then of who the founders are. And there is Diva Dance, Rock and Roll. So now I'm gonna show you, and it's okay if you're not done, just go back to it at any time, as you know. So I'm gonna show you the next Diva Dance, which is Foxtrot. Let's do Foxtrot. So I think I'm gonna do Foxtrot on this one here. I mean, you can pick any one you want. Really doesn't matter, but I'm gonna use pick this right one. And Foxtrot, we're gonna start with kind of making a side V or triangle with this wavy line. So I've got kind of on the right side, you've got this V shape. Well, actually, it almost looks like a horse, the one I just did. But so I'm doing a wavy line. It's the same thing, it's just doing a different angle. So we're just getting that V shape coming into the kind of shooting for that middle area and then coming back. So this is like a V shape, wavy V shape. And then we're going to do that same thing. We're going to fill up this area, just ordering this V, or you can add a few more waves too, or less, whatever you'd like. So getting a layer in there, and then adding your bump outs. Nice and slow, relaxed. In a moment, I will show you how to tangle the rest of this loop with this pattern. I might go in and add a few weights here. So how to do the rest of this is the same thing. Think of like 4 sections of doing this. So I'm going to do I'm going to put a wavy line here. So now I've got kind of this V section on top. And I'm going to add another wavy line over here. So I've got that same kind of V or triangular shape. So now we've got 4 sections, and we're going to do the same thing in each section that we just did or are doing here. And you can turn your tile at any time, nice and relaxed. So I would suggest every time you move to a different section, I suggest turning your tile. That's up to you. Okay, so I'm going to show you now Diva Dance. Diva Dance. So they're all Diva Dance. This is Diva Dance Rock and Roll, and you'll get an email with these patterns. This is Diva Dance Foxtrot, and now we're going to do Diva Dance, just the basic original Diva Dance. So it's the same thing, but all we're going to do now is just vertical lines. So I'm going to start in the middle. You don't have to, and I'm just going to do that wavy line. And then over that, then doing a bump out. And continuing on. And you might even want to do kind of a longer bump out on these if you'd like. Whatever your inner artist is guiding you to do. And if you haven't been adding any layers without bump outs, you might want to try that with this pattern here. Meaning in the beginning, I told you I like to put bump outs in all the layers, but the way the pattern shows it is just not all the layers. So maybe if you've been doing all the layers, maybe try now to just add some layers without bump outs and then bring in those bump outs every couple of layers. So like right now, I'm just gonna aura without any bump outs. I'll do 2 of those and then I'll add my third one, I'll add some bump outs. It's really hard for me not to add bump outs because I love adding bump outs. Just a suggestion, remember, whatever you do, whatever you want, everything's a suggestion. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. No judgment. And when I'm done with this side, then I'll do the other side. I might even turn my tile, but I'll let you know. But we're filling up this whole loop with this pattern. So I'm going to turn my tile now the other direction because I'm right-handed and it's easier for me to draw that way. So when you're done with that, I would suggest that you cap your pens for a moment and shake out your wrists and check your body alignment. We've just been doing a lot of tangling. Okay, so now let's pick this pattern, this section right here. I'll turn my light off so you can see the pencil. So we've got this section here. And you can always pick any section you want. This is going to be a grid pattern. So if you feel like, we all drew this differently, so you could always pick any other section you want to, but I'm going to pick this section right here. And let's take our fine pen. And the grid right now, we're only gonna go across, so kind of, that's horizontal, right? So leave a space, think of a checkerboard. You kind of want to get a nice square shape if you can, doesn't matter. So we're just gonna draw these lines across. We're gonna fill this whole section, leaving some space. Just going this way. And when we go vertically, it's going to be very different. So don't do that. Just do these lines first, our horizontal lines. And I'm going to turn my tile. I'm going to, so I'm a little bit straighter here, zoom in a little bit. Okay, actually, I'd like us to go to our scrap paper. I meant to do that. So let's pick out a piece of scrap paper. This is the only other time we'll use our scrap paper today. And let's draw those lines going across. 1, 2, 3, you can put 4 or 5 lines are fine. Doesn't matter if they're even. I'm gonna show you how we're gonna draw the grid going down. Now, focus. It's easy, but we need to focus. So the first one, we're just gonna draw a line on an angle. Zoom in a little bit. And then we're gonna zigzag. So the next section will go the opposite direction, coming back, alternating each row, zigzagging. So that's easy because that's the first one, right? So the second one now is we're gonna mirror this. We're gonna start from this corner. We're gonna actually touch that one, and we're gonna go kind of mirror that. And then when we go here, we're gonna actually connect. So it almost looks like, so we're gonna come out. So we're doing the zigzag in an opposite direction, connecting when it looks like it should connect, almost like making that diamond shape. I don't know why it's getting fuzzy there. Okay. And then the next one, we're gonna aura this, but we're leaving some space, right? So we're gonna do that. So we're gonna do the same thing we just did, right? So the previous one, not the first time we did it, the second time we did it, we're gonna go in that same direction, leaving space in between. So it's almost like we're auraing what we just drew, but leaving a good amount of space because we're gonna be, doing stuff in there. And now watch this. So now this is gonna come, the second one this is gonna come up like a V. And now we're going to do that same thing, zigzagging. We'll do this again, just so this is It's not difficult, it's just we gotta focus, that's all. So when we do the next one, it's gonna be this one. So this is, it's gonna be every other, we're gonna do this and this, you know, it's the same thing. So now we're gonna go back to the first way we did it. And we're gonna, to help us remember, we're just gonna aura the last line we just did. So we're just gonna aura that. So we're auraing, leaving space. So the aura isn't an outline, the aura is just to get you in the same direction. Thinking of a checkerboard, we still want spaces in between. And then, give me a minute, we're going to, just like we did here, the same thing we did the first time. And then when we get to this one, we're auraing this, same direction, what we just did. And what I like to do is I like to put that V in right there. You don't have to, but you know, and then we're going in that same direction. So kind of auraing what we just, oh, got confused there. Yeah. Okay. So we ready to go to the tile? We'll do this together, nice and slow, at least the first couple. Right? This is another Zentangle original pattern. So I'm gonna get my thin micron out. And this is just setting down the grid for this pattern. Okay, so now we start going in this direction. I'm gonna go right to the corner there. And then we'll zigzag, alternating rows. And then, okay, so now we're gonna mirror that. I'm gonna draw that line right from the top of that one. So it's like an upside down V. And now I'm gonna zigzag, going in that opposite direction that we just did, connecting to make these diamonds on every other one. And then when we do the next one, we're leaving some space, but we're gonna go in the same direction we just did. So it's almost like auraing the last line we just drew, but we leave some space, but that's how we're starting. So you can see these are the same direction and the rest will be the same as well. And if you run out of space, you just stop, that's okay. And then it's going to be that V. So I'm going to give it, I think of a Y when I do that, but think of a Y or a V here. So I'm just going to add that line. So it's really just the reverse of that one. And now we're going to mirror. So that what we're drawing now is the same direction that we did the very first line over here. And if you can fit another one in, go ahead. I don't think I can fit another one in. So this is setting down the foundation for what's going to come next. See what I'm going to do here. Just do that. Okay. So now, when you're done with that, you can cap your pen and put it down. And then pick up your pencil. And what we're going to do with our pencil is we're going to pick that middle row right here. So the one without the V, right? We've got, this is open. And we're right on the one below it. Just want to make sure. We're going to use the side of our pencil and color that in lightly with the pencil. So the first one is white, second one is gray. So this is the space in between kind of those two sections we did. And then we're going to stay in this column, this row here. We're going to skip this one and then do this one. This is where focus comes in. So we're just doing every other one in this column, I'm going to call it. And then we're going to go on that last column over here and do the same thing, but we're going to start on the, so this row is where we shaded. So we're going to come down the next row where that one was white, and over here, we're going to put in that, color that in with our pencil. And in a moment, we're going to smooth that out with our tortillon. And then the other, every other one. And actually you can do what here too. And then on the first column, we're going to go to that first column now and do the same thing. So let's start off with coloring the top one, skipping every other one on that first column. So that's the first part of this coloring in. And once you do that, you can take your tortillon. I know we haven't done our tortillon toast, but that's okay. And we're going to blend in what we just did with our pencil, trying to stay within the lines. We usually don't care about the lines, but today we'll try to stay within the lines, just coloring in that section, just smoothing it out with your tortillon. Notice how the tortillon feels in your hand or whatever you're using today, and maybe notice the sound it makes. And when you're done with that, pick up your thicker pen or your regular pen. I'm going to grab my graphic one for this. But again, any pen is fine. And here comes the fun part. It's all fun, but this is a little bit more fun, I think. So now we're going to color in these diamonds. So let's look at the first one here. And we're going to color in. Just want to make sure I'm doing this right. Oh, okay, this is fine. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to color this in, the whole diamond. And you're also going to do the next one. And you're going to do the next one. So every diamond, and I'm just tracing over it. So focus on this one column, coloring in the diamonds. And then I have a half of one here that can be colored in. And don't move on to the next one yet, because we're going to start someplace different. Although actually you can see it. So wherever you see See how we see a diamond over here? So we're not going to do this top one. Wait a minute, maybe we are. Give me a minute, give me a minute. I don't do this pattern very often. So yeah, we are going to do this top one. So we'll stop this top V or Y. And then we'll do the same thing we just did in this column. So we skipped the column where we did the shading every other one. And we're coloring in these diamonds again. And there you have it. That is the pattern Beeline, Beeline. Again, you'll get this in the email. And that's what it is. So that's a cool looking pattern. We had to do that together, but that's okay. I like how that came out. And now we have, oh, I forgot to tell you, well, you already figured it out because we have all these sections. We're doing 7 patterns today. So we've done 2. We've got 5 to go, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 to go. 1, 2, 3, 4 to go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess I had a lot. So let's pick this section right here. Well, I'm going to pick this section. And I'm back to my Micron 01 pen now, my thin pen. And we're going to start off with a little rice shape. Little rice shape. So like 2 parentheses connected. And then imagine this is kind of a base of a triangle. So we're going to now do another one, trying to create a triangle shape. So we're going to do one on either side. It's really small, but it doesn't have to be. So you've got 3 little rice shapes, mini rice shapes. And now we're going to pick one of those and do the same thing. So I'm going to turn my tile. So I'm going to imagine this one here is the base that we drew first, and I'll draw those 2 on either side in a triangular, creating kind of a triangular shape with the 3 of them. And then when you're done with that, turn your tile, find any one you want, use it as your base, and then you'll do one on either side again. And you just fill up this whole section doing that. Eventually, you're just going to have to put them in randomly because you'll run out of space. And you don't even have to do it this way. You could just put them in randomly if you'd like. But this is just how the pattern shows it. And you can change the length and width of them. Now, if I turn my tile, these 2 are already going out. So I might just put one as that base. You know, that 3, thinking 3 together make kind of a triangle. But don't think too much, not that important. We're just drawing these rice shapes. And of course, you can put them in any direction you want. These are all suggestions. And like I said, after a while, you can just put them in randomly if you want, as space starts to run out. Now, one other thing you can do with this pattern if you'd like, let's see, randomly what I like to do is just put a little weight maybe on the edges, just on some of them to give it a little drama. Zoom in a little bit more so you can see, see if I can focus. So a couple of these, just the edges, I'll just trace right over the edges, just darkening it. I just like to do that randomly. Oh, I thought I was recording when I just did all of that. So it looks as if the recording missed instruction, so I'm just going to repeat that now. So those of you who are on the class live, just ignore me. So we started with the center one, but all we're doing is we're drawing 3 lines. And then we come down about halfway, come out and cross over the top and color in the sides. It's funny because I even checked to see if it was recording, I guess. And now we're going to aura this whole top area twice. So we've got 1 and then 2. And what we did here in the middle is we just put 3 lines and we did one on either side. So we did the same thing on one side as we did on the bottom, which you can keep doing if you like, but that kind of how it starts off this pattern. Then you just keep adding, growing off of it. 3 lines, get that loop. Give it an aura. You can go behind if you like. You can see what I mean by going behind, just stopping. If you notice, I went over the lines because we're allowed to do that in Zentangle. You can bring patterns together, you can overflow them into the pencil just gives us a guideline so that we don't have to think too much about how far we're going to draw the pattern. So you can always go over lines into other sections. So I'm going to suggest, now there's this space right here, a little triangle space left. I mean, you can just leave it as is, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this pattern called Quandary and I'm going to bring it over to that section. So I'm going to turn my tile and I'm going to continue with these rice shapes that we were doing. And of course, you're always free to do whatever you like. You can bring in other patterns at any time if you feel like it. All right, I'm going to move on now to the next pattern. And I'm going to do it in this right section right here. Let's see if everyone's back from break. Okay, those who I can see you, you're here. All right, so we're going to start, make sure my recording is going good. And we're going to start somewhere in the middle. Again, when I say middle, it does not mean exact middle, just, gives us some space around it. We're going to put in this little comma. Think of a comma. Put in a little comma. And now we're going to give it this arc aura, kind of like what we did in Diva Dance. And we're going to color that in. And you don't need your thick marker for this. Your thin pen is fine. And that's it. We're going to do that over and over again. But here's how we're going to do it. So now we're going to do it again. So let's give this an aura. We're just doing these arc shapes. Think of, and now we're going to double that up. And color it in. So this pattern is called Bunzo. Some of you may have done Bunzo. And what we do is we keep drawing these arc shapes, ordering them, and then we color them in. So it really comes out to be every other one is colored in. But what makes this a really fun and cool pattern is that we change direction. So we'll add a few and then we'll start somewhere else. So I'm going to do this, start one right here. I did a monotangle of this once on a bijou and love it. I put it into a magnet. It's on my refrigerator. I love it. I'll have to show it to you later. It's also on the website. There's a page on my website called there's bijoux and pouches and demos, and all my bijou tiles are listed there. So then also what you can do, you can keep starting different directions, but you can also start to turn it in a different direction. So you can just see what I'm doing. So you can start to go in a different direction, or then just start another one somewhere else. And when I say monotangle, for those of you who don't know, it just means a tile with just one pattern, one tangle pattern. Maybe I'll bring back, last year, I don't know if it was last year or this year, I think it was last year, on Zoom, we did a weekly monotangle class. And that was fun. So I might bring that back at some point. So I don't teach this pattern a lot, only because it's so time consuming and the classes sometimes are so, short, not short, but it goes by fast. But we just have a small space here. So I thought it'd be nice to bring this pattern in. Recording. Okay. All right, so we've got one spot left here, and we're gonna do the pattern that we all know and love, or a lot of us do, maybe not everybody, and it's called N-Zeppel. However, we're gonna do it a little differently. Meaning, it'll be different for me. Some of you may have done it this way. I usually teach N-Zeppel where we do a very sporadic type of grid, but we're going to do a little bit more organized grid today. So what we'll do is I'm going to mimic this line here. See how it's kind of curved? I'm just going to kind of give it this. So think of a grid, think of a checkerboard. So I'm going to just bring in these curved lines. Slightly curved. They could be straight too, doesn't matter. And then we're gonna go the other way. So this way, I'm gonna go straight just because of this, it's gonna be easier for me. It could be curved too. So now we're going just like a regular checkerboard. I'm not worrying about how big the sizes are, just drawing some lines, going the other way as a grid, but this grid doesn't have to be even. Every section can be square, rectangle, all different. Don't even think about that. Just draw lines the other way. And then there's going to be 2 more parts to this grid before we start putting in our balloons. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you a couple different ways to do this. The first, let's pick one section. All right, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And in one section, draw an X from corner to corner in that section. So you can do this in every section, or you can take this and we're going to bring this X here and we're going to bring it into the next box on a diagonal. And we can do that each one going this way. Just now we're going in a diagonal line. And we're going to do the same. So now what you could do is you could do that with each one, draw point to point diagonally. And then I'm going to show you now this is the X going the other way. You do the same thing going the other direction. So I find it confusing. That's why I'm teaching these different ways. So you can either do an X in each one or start off with an X and then bring that into each section point to point in that diagonal. So here's another X and I'll just bring that all the way through, going through the points. And this does not need to be neat. This is meant to be messy, all right? This is not, this pattern, we don't want anything neat and organized. It's just a way to do this grid. This type of grid is the same for a few different patterns, so it's a good to learn it. But it does not have to be perfect at all. And sometimes I'll randomly do it. So I might put some X's and some, bring it through. And then I'm going to show you the next step now, even if you're not done, just so now the next step is so much fun and so easy. And all we do is we squish a balloon or an orb. And what we do is we just trace along each section as if we're pushing in a balloon. So I'm going to just trace along. So I'm drawing along the edges, rounding the corners. I'm squishing in a balloon in each one of these triangular sections. Tracing along the edges as if I'm drawing an orb right in there. And by doing Enzeppel this way, other than the way I usually do it, which is just random zigzag lines, it gives it a very different look, in my opinion. As soon as we're done with this pattern, we'll go into our shading. Of course, we'll do our tortilla toast first, but right now we have plenty of time, at least 5 minutes. Let's take 5 minutes. I'm going to stop talking. We're just going to relax into each stroke. All right, so we've done a tortilla and toast, and we're gonna now take our pencil, always shading on the side of the tip unless you want to do it another way. And I'm gonna turn my light off, because, okay. So let's start with, let's see, where should we start? I guess we'll start where we started. So what I'm gonna suggest here is find, let's focus on one area, meaning not the whole thing, but let's just focus maybe on this half here, on the right half. Zoom in a little bit. And wherever you see kind of like this ripple effect coming, like the kind of going together, just bring in some shading. And you don't have to think too much about it. Just for like one area, just start to put in some shading like all along, going kind of like in a stream. Is that the right word? Stream or row? And then with your tortillon, just blend that in. Now, again, just want to remind you that the shading is a lot darker on my tiles. Just the camera doesn't show it very well, but you can see already a little bit how it's making a difference, like a 3D effect here. Just so fun. And so again, we're just focusing on not the whole thing, unless you want to, but I'm going kind of like from 6 o'clock to, what time is this one over here? 2 o'clock, like this right side area. So here's kind of like an indent all along. So I'm just going to put some shading right in there where it kind of looks like it's indenting. And then blending that in. And this is just one way out of many to shade. And then maybe another one over here. You know what? I like that so much. I think I am going to go all the way around. So if you want to keep going around, finding kind of where it indents, bringing some or wherever feels good. So I am going all the way around. So I like how that looks. You can go over that area. Once you blend it in, you can go over it to make it a little deeper. You can start to see how it now becomes more uneven layers. And if you want, I'm going to take what's left of my tortillon and just put a little bit in the middle there to soften off that white area. Too bad the lighting really doesn't show this shading very well, but it's much, much, much darker on mine tile. And what's left of my tortillon, I'm going to go over to the pattern Quandary. And a couple things, I think what you could just like dab a little bit in each one, which actually I'm going to do that. Looks nice. But I'm also thinking of maybe putting some in the background. So I'm dabbing a little bit. You can even color in some of these sporadically, some of these petals, maybe color a few in. And then maybe in the background, just using what's left of my tortillon, not putting any graphite down with my pencil, just with the tortillon. And in certain areas, I'm just coloring in or putting in some graphite, what that's left on the tortillon in the background. So dabbing some in the middle or coloring some of these petals in with my tortillon, and then finding little areas in the background to soften that white. Sometimes I just grab what's on that border too, the pencil that we drew the border with, and I just maybe smooth that out a little bit. And that's why I always say use the side of your pencil, which this is a technique I learned recently, because it blends better when you do that. That's why I like to do that with the border. Okay, so I want to grab that border. And with the other Diva dances, we've got Diva Dance Rock and Roll, Diva Dance Foxtrot, and Diva Dance. You can do the same type of thing. So finding that, like I'm gonna go for these V's, I'm gonna just go right down the middle of each one of these V's with my graphite. You can either use what's left of your tortillon or take up or with your pencil. I'm using my pencil right now. I'm just going down right down the middle of each one of these V sections. And then blending that in. And what I'm also going to do with this is I'm going to put a little bit along the edges all around the perimeter of this particular one. So taking what's left on the tortillon, going all around the perimeter of the edges. And then with what's left of your tortillon, you can just dab maybe a little bit on the edges of the white part of the bunzo. You could do like maybe one edge of these, or you could color in the whole thing. So what I would suggest sporadically, it's really too bad you can't see the shading very well today, but so what I'm doing is I'm going to color a couple of these. I'm going to color right in using what's left of my tortillon, so it's not too dark. So coloring a full one in, and then on some others, I'll just do a little bit on the edges. Again, just using what's left of my tortillon, and then leaving some white. And then any background here, maybe I'll put in a little shading as well. So I really love when Bunzo gets shaded. That to me makes that pattern beautiful. And I know it's hard to say how, to use the word beautiful for this type of pattern, but the shading really does make it. And then for Diva Dance regular, I think I'm gonna do the same thing with the ripple effect. So here, like this looks like it indents right here, but I'm gonna wanna go, I don't have to go all the way across actually. I might just go in different sections. Maybe find different sections. Randomly. Doing the same type of thing we did on Diva Dance Rock and Roll, which was over here. And then using what's left in your tortillon, just dab a few of these orbs in the enzeppel sporadically. Now sometimes I'll brush like right over it, maybe in one area or a few little areas sporadically. Just give it a brush, light brush, so it gives it some shading sporadically. That's good enough for me. And for beeline, we already did the shading. It was part of the actual pattern. And with wheels, that's what this pattern is called, wheels. I'm gonna do two things here. One is I'm gonna put a little bit where it looks like it's going underneath, just like that tunnel. Remember, tunnels get dark. So so really either ends of the stems, I'm gonna call them. And the other thing I'm gonna do is in the background. Now, in the background here, you could actually color in black, with your ink, but today I'm gonna do pencil in the background. You could also do both, alternate some, almost like beeline over here in the background. You could do some colored in the background and some colored in with graphite, some with pen, some with graphite. Today I'm just doing the graphite. If we had more time, maybe I would do that and then blend everything in that we did. So next to the stems, you stay very close to the edges. You don't want the middle of that stem still to be white. Just the ends of the stems, and then in the background, smooth that out. You could even put orbs in the background of this pattern as well. I know how Bonnie loves orbs. Okay. And then when you're done, which you don't have to be yet, but when you are, you can sign your tile wherever you like with your initials, your name, your chop, however you like. And just remember to turn it around. Notice how it looks, different angles. I really appreciate what you drew today.